Alright, everyone, welcome back to another Watch and Talk here in Automotive Anatomy. So yeah, funny enough, I did a complete different editing of the same type of, the same Watch and Talk. I did a whole different, pour my heart out, as you would say, and of course, the data was corrupted. I'm hoping that this one is not. If it is, you will not hear it, obviously. But yeah, just wanted to share with you guys some of the stuff that, I don't know, has been going through my mind. I use this space for me to be able to just share some of the most, I guess you would say, intimate and personal stories that I've gone, and if there's any way, shape, or form that I can help somebody else out there by sharing my story, I definitely, that's definitely my mission. And excuse me. And the story that I wanted, kind of trigger the whole mindset this time around was, as I was going through Instagram feed, I noticed that there was a picture that came up of this. There were like 3 or 4 young teenage boys in some refugee by Serbia, and they were trying to bench press, with this little wooden stick and some water bottles at the end of each end, and that was their, their bench press machine. And I read the description and said, there were refugees, and obviously they're fleeing from where they live and all the violence. And it just came to mind that, most of us, and I'm not gonna say all of us, because I obviously don't know the the circumstances that you're going through and the challenge that you're going through, but most of us have what we call first world problems, meaning our biggest stress is the fact that we haven't been able to get the materialistic things that we want, right? The biggest thing is that, Amazon said that they were going to drop it off, whatever shipment you order on Tuesday, and it's Thursday now and it hasn't arrived. And so yes, those things are maybe stressful, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't believe they're stressful. I don't believe they are really problems. I know that when I got sick, I could care less about overtime. I could care less about, car parts. I could care less about different things. Once your health is in jeopardy, everything else becomes unimportant. And I remember one friend say, when he read a book that said that the gentleman, when he was passing away in his deathbed, he was like, I can't remember what my, overtime check or what my bonus was back in 20-30 years ago, but I wish I would have done more of just doing the simple things. I wish I'd have hang out with the family a little bit more. And so it kind of brings me back to the point of, some of us are too caught up on the things that we immediately want, and not really paying attention to the things that we actually have the luxury of experiencing. And again, I'm not special by any means. I'm not saying that I don't do that. By far, I definitely have been in such great positions, and I've been extremely blessed. That's the reason why I have the luxury to sit here and talk to you guys about this, because I don't have to fear for my safety. I don't have to fear for food. I don't have to fear for a lot of different things that I do take for granted at times. And so the reason why this conversation came about from me is because many of us, we've had challenges in the past, or now, but we get stuck on those, and that's a problem. The reason why is because once you get stuck in the past, or you get stuck on this is the way it was, and then there's no room for you to move forward. Some of you may or may not know this, but I came, to this country when I was about 9 years old, and so I started 4th grade, and zero English, and it was challenging at the time. Just to give you an example, there was an assignment about wild animal, and somebody had to translate it for me. And obviously I didn't know how to write it in English, so it was supposed to be a 1-pager. I wanted to show the teacher that I like school, because I did. I wanted to show her that I can do a good job, and it was all in Spanish. And she gave me back the paper. I did a 3-page paper, so obviously I went above and beyond. She gave me back the paper with a D minus, and at the time I didn't know what effort meant, but until somebody translated for me and said, "Oh, that means that you tried." I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Is a D minus a good grade?" They're like, "Nah, that's a bad grade." And obviously it was deflating, to go on a day-to-day basis, and they didn't have a Spanish program or any dual language support at the school. So it was a lot of, I would go home, empty worksheet. I would come back with the empty worksheet. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, and it wasn't until I think the teacher was like, okay, let me figure out some help for this kid because she didn't speak any Spanish, and they started pulling me out of the class and they would send me to the first graders. And the first graders were so much nicer because I was I was bigger than them, and they were so much nicer. They spoke Spanish and they taught me English, and whenever I would see them in the playground, they would be waving from the other side of the playground, obviously because I was quote unquote upperclassman. And I was way back. I was like, these kids are awesome, man. And yeah, that's how I pretty much learned English, my fourth grade. But despite other challenges that happened, it was never one thing that I got stuck on. I think in fact, I used it as motivation. Another story that happened to me in fifth grade, after a year of being at school, my English wasn't the best, and to make friendships is difficult, especially when you're the odd kid that dresses differently and eats different foods. I would take burritos to school, and some other kids, they had like their Lunchables and things of that nature. So I mean, you're definitely not gonna say outcast, but you just definitely you dress differently. You're the different kid, and I'm mostly Caucasian in Asian school. And I remember these two kids that they actually never really talked to me. And one time I had my dodgeball and I was playing soccer by myself, and they were like, "Hey, you want to play?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like that's dope. And I kicked the ball back to them, and then they would kick it back to me, and they're like, "Oh, go farther." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I took maybe like, I don't know, 20 yards. So I kicked the ball to them, and then one of them, picked up the ball and kicked it really, really far. And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, why would you do that? So by the time I got to the ball, I turned around. They're pretty much in the other side of the playground. They ran away. And yeah, it was extremely upsetting. I don't know. I think I went near a basketball court. I almost wanted to cry, but I was like, nah, you can't cry. You're at school. Um, long story short, I ended up confronting one of them down the road, like in middle school when I spoke English, and I was stronger and faster than him. And I told him that he was a POS, and I haven't really talked to him since. And then the other guy, when I was going through undergrad school, he actually ended up bringing me up at Albertsons. And there's not that there's something wrong with working at Albertsons, but it felt good to say, you know what, dude, like I'm not stopping, and you're at Albertsons, and this seems to be your future. But the point is that I could have, and to this day I still can, let those little experiences get to me. And that's the reason why it's so easy to tell people, or family members, well, this is the reason why I couldn't go to school, this is the reason why, because I was ridiculed, oh, because I didn't know the language, oh, because of this. I mean, there's always 1,001 reasons why you can't do something, and that's the reason why I don't have, I guess, patience for first world problems. Not saying health problems, health issues, family passing away. Those are real problems, and I think we all can differentiate that between that and the fact that you weren't able to buy the new Nikes because it sold out, or the website crashed. Like, I give two shits about that. It's not something that I definitely want. It's not something that I want around me. The attitude towards the negativity, or when people they have so much time in their hands. That's all it comes down to. They have so much time in their hands that they have time to talk about other people. And just as a reminder, if they feel comfortable talking about other people with you, they're gonna do the same exact thing with the other people about you. And so watch the way somebody interacts with you. If they're always negative. The dogs were like howling and stuff, so I was like, the spirits are out. But if they're always complaining, they're always this, remember, that's gonna rough off on you. Like, there's no question about it. You may not notice it at the moment, but that's gonna become the pattern that you follow. I mean, if there's 4 ducks and you hang out with them, you're gonna be the 5th one, even if you deny it, or you don't like it. That's just a matter of I guess the proximity rule. You are who you hang out with, you become who you hang out with. And so I definitely try to continue to motivate myself and push myself, and not let all those previous challenges keep me from accomplishing more. Now, what I mean by accomplishing more, like I mentioned in some other Washington talks, is not necessarily more money. Not that I'm allergic to money, because I'm not, but it's about pushing yourself. Um, you know, there's always going to be something, something that someone's going to say, something that someone's going to do. Whether you're 5, whether you're 15, whether you're 50, whether you're 80, there's always going to be somebody who's going to think that they're smarter than you, or they're just going to be plain, plain and simple, for rude. And you can't let those messages get to you. You cannot let those insecurities from other people affect the way you behave, the way you act, or the mission that you're in. Because bottom line, some of those people, especially in social media, that it allowed everybody to have a free comment into what you're doing or you're not doing. If you really wish to understand where they're coming from, you would have to look at their whole family, you know, dynamic. You would have to look at what type of stuff are they feeding themselves. You would have to look at their ambitions or goals or lack of goals, and that's the reason why they have so much time to go on a social platform and say something negative about somebody else who's trying to better themselves. I mean, there's a whole quote about, don't make fun of somebody who's overweight at the gym because they're trying to lose weight. It's like making fun of somebody who is homeless at a job fair. Everybody's trying to motivate themselves in one way or another. And if you just happen to be that person who, has the time to look at others and have a smart comment all the time, man, like that in itself, like you're pretty dang fortunate to do that. And so it kind of loops around again. Just because I learned English, it didn't mean that the challenging situation with different people and students stopped. I mean, when I was in middle school, I ended up getting to this argument with this kid because he was messing with this other younger kid who had a scar in his head. I think he had surgery when he was smaller. He had like a big C on the side of his head, and obviously hair wouldn't grow, so you could see the scar. And I stood up to the kid. I said, "Hey, what the hell's your problem, man? Like, why don't you just leave him alone?" And so this kid's response to me was, "Why don't you go home, become legal before you talk to me?" So I said, "How would you feel if I kick your ass?" And he just kind of stood there and he's like, "Oh, whatever," and walked away. Well, 2 days later, I get a call from the counseling office, and I'm like, "What did I do?" So the counselor, which was cool, she was like, "Hey, so did you do a threat to this kid?" I said, "No, I explained the situation." So she goes, "Okay, so that's what he said to you." I was like, "Yeah." So okay. She's like, "I wouldn't want nobody to call me bimbo because I'm white." And I said, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Don't worry about it. You'll be all right." And that kid ended up getting suspended for a day or whatever. And I ended up getting a positive referral. She was like, "Not that I condone violence and you shouldn't get in fights, but yeah, I guess the kid was scared that, I completely forgot about it, to be honest with you. But I guess the kid was scared that, I was gonna, beat him up after school. You know, and that was it. That was one of the moments where I realized, like, okay, just because now that I speak better English doesn't mean that not necessarily the racist comment or just stupid negativity comments will stop. They're not. At that time it was about someone who didn't speak English. Now it could be about your skin color. I mean, there's always going to be something that someone's going to be nitpicking. There's always going to be, I erase some of the comments that I get on this washing talks, like, "Oh, you're washing the car wrong. Oh, you're scratching the car. Oh, have you heard about the two bucket method," and things of that nature. And I'm like, dude, like, I know about all those things. I don't have the resources, and it's not because I can't go buy it. It's not important to me. This is really as simple as that. Like, a lot of people wanna, put their insecurities on you. Like, they get triggered even more because you're not engaging. How dare you wash the car like that? How dare you like that president? How dare you like that? Like, it's just like, ultimately, for me is enjoy something for what it is, and if you don't like it, stop watching. I'm a true believer that you can grab something positive out of anybody and everyone. Seriously, every situation, every person, whether you like or dislike the way they come about it, you can grab something positive. And what do I mean by that? Like, there's been people that are extremely negative. I mean, You guys know them. Every 2 minutes is a problem. Everything is an issue. Everything, life is unfair for them, and you're just sitting there like, whoa. Well, there's something positive to say about that. That's not who you want to be. Don't go and do that with your significant others. Don't go and do that with your friends. Don't be the fifth duck, like I was saying. There's times that I think to myself, like, damn, I wasted a lot of time on social media today. Again, as much as I preach that it's only supposed to be as a tool, here I am. I catch myself, just kind of scrolling and seeing whatever is up there. Maybe I get caught up on little videos with sports or jokes and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I would consider it a waste of time, because I could have used that time to read a book. I could have used that time to go and work out. I could have used that time to do something more beneficial with my life than to, provide more revenue for social media platform. And not to say that that's bad if that's what you like to do, but if that's all you're intaking on a day in, day out basis, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 years go by and you're still in a similar or worse situation, that's how you end up getting angry with the society. You get mad at the fact that, life is so unfair. I know many people like that, and I'm thinking, well, what have you been doing to try to better yourself? I'll give you as an example. I've said it before and I'll say it again. One of the biggest areas right now that I feel like I don't have control over is my health and my weight. And in all the other cylinders in my life, I feel like things are going well. I'm happy with what I do professionally. I'm happy with the relationships that I'm building. But I feel like there's, one of the biggest areas that I can improve. Obviously, there's improvement for everything, but one of them is my health. And so, how can I say that when I go and, overeat? How can I say that when I'm not eating healthy? How can I say that when I'm choosing not to do exercise? So, it's one of those things where, like, people can start smelling the BS after a while, right? Especially when you meet somebody for the first time. You tell them, oh man, this and this, and they're like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks. And then the next time you see them, it's the same thing, and then the same thing. It gets to the point where, like, okay, so when are you gonna make a change? And for me, on my side, is I've come across people like that who always have an excuse, and there's always a reason why they haven't been able to accomplish, or they haven't been able to reach their most potential. And it gets to the point where, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Oh, no, I can't because of this. Oh, I can't go back to school because of this. Oh, I can't start that business because of this. Oh, I can't start the YouTube channel because of this. Oh, I can't do this. Well, yeah, there's always going to be 1,000,001 reasons why you can't do it. Some of my favorite ones are, I don't have money. Okay, but you have the most newest gadgets, and you're still unhappy. The thing is, we're buying all these material things that are supposed to make us happy, and they're not doing their job, like the minimalists say. And so, at what point do you look at yourself and think, what are the goals? What are the aspirations? What are you doing to find more peace in your life? And I think those are the moments where you bump heads with some people, because a lot of us, again, including myself at some point, a lot of us don't want to hear a solution to our problems. We want somebody to pat us in the back and say, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through that. Here, like, you're such a, I'm not even going to say victim, but, it's just a tragic situation that you're in. No, that's BS. The fact is that the people that tell you that and the people that don't call you out on your stuff, you should worry about that. And, oh, by the way, people that add to it, oh my God, yeah, tell me about it. And then they start talking about their own problems. Man, you got to really think about who you're hanging out with, because that's what you're putting into the energy, and those are the people you're attracting. And so again, if you hang out with 4 ducks, you'll be the 5th one. And those are the people that I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not trying to hang out with people like that. As soon as they start, making comments about how things are tough and blah blah blah, and if I make a suggestion and it's pushed back with something negative, oh, you better believe I'm just gonna stay quiet and say, oh yeah, okay, and then that's it. I can't relate to you, because if I do relate to you, then that means that I'm gonna have to be in a similar situation where I'm gonna, either complain about my own problems, or justify yours, and then in the way in that process I'm gonna be justifying my own issues as to why I haven't been able to do X, Y, or Z. It again, it rubs off on you guys. The energy or the lack of energy from other people, it definitely rubs off. And the practices of other people. If other people love to go to the gym, at one point they're gonna be like, why are you not going to the gym? It's almost that peer pressure, okay, I guess I'll go to the gym. And the opposite, if people don't like working out, they just like to drink beer. Eventually you're gonna be like, okay, either you get out of that little circle that you have, or you're gonna be the one buying the beer and being part of that social atmosphere. Not that none of those are wrong, but those are the same people that say, I can't lose weight. Again, like myself. Yeah, but you overate, homie. Like, what do you expect? And that's something that you have to be okay with yourself. And I'm at the point where I really look for people that challenge my beliefs in a respectful manner. When everybody just nods and says, oh yeah, I agree, or no, yeah, poor you, like there's really no challenge, there's no growing in there. And a lot of us, that's what we want to hear, which is sad, because that gets, I think, to me, the noble support is really sometimes the worst one, because they're not calling you out on your stuff. They're not letting you know, like, no man, I disagree, I'm looking at you from a different perspective, and the fact is you don't have it bad. The fact is that you keep making poor decisions, and that's the reason why you're in this situation. And in 10 years, guess what, you're probably going to be in the same situation because you're not making a change. And the problem is that a lot of us, and again, myself, I'm speaking for myself as the number one person, is that we want a change of, like a radical change in a very extremely short period of time, to undo something that took a long time to do. And that's just not the realistic. I'll give you as an example. Right now, houses are through the roof. I do aspire to be able to buy a house. When? Have no idea. But it's not something that I'm in a rush for. I'm not, like, oh man, feeling bad or waking up and again feeding myself social media with other people that have bought their houses, and when is it gonna be my turn? Making all these different reasons as to why. I'm not in that rush. I definitely do want to aspire for it, but for now I'm okay. I'm dealing with what I have, and it's not that I'm complacent, it's just that I'm using that time to really just focus on other things that are important to me. The water goes in a little bit, I don't know why, but had to dry it. I think the window's not sitting properly, and I gotta remove the visors because they're old and broken. But the bottom line is, a lot of people don't realize that the work is now when you don't have the house. You have to save money. You have to have it. You have to put it in your goals. You have to work in silent. Different things like, if you're aiming for that car, you want that specific car, then obviously it's so easy to go get a loan. Like, I'll be honest, it's extremely easy to go get a loan and get in debt. But what about if you take your time? What about if you work at it slowly and chip at it? You can still get a loan, but be in a much more comfortable situation, because you're not the immediate gratification, you're not being part of the immediate gratification society that we're in. And I think that's a problem. That's the reason why a lot of us complain. Again, going back to the whole first world problems. Starbucks didn't get the drink the way you asked for it, and so now that ruined your day. And it's like, damn, like if that's what ruined your day, like you must have a wonderful life, because that's your biggest issue. That's your biggest problem in life. And I think that's definitely the message I want to come across. I had the time to do a video about my suspension not sitting low. I mean, think about that. Think about that for a second. One, I have the privilege to spend money on really ridiculous things because I guess they're a hobby. Number two, I get the time to complain about it. And that's the moment when you realize, like, oh, you have it extremely good. And I do. And I definitely do. And so that's definitely not something that I take for granted. All the time, but I do end up taking it for granted. And I think when I see pictures like those underage refugees trying to bench press of a DIY bench machine, that's when it gives you perspective, and you're like, dude, you have nothing to compare to real troubles in other countries and other places. It's quite amazing, But we forget that. Sadly, we all forget that, and that's why I'm trying to remind you, as I'm reminding myself, that there's so much worse out there, and yeah, we're blessed to say the least.
Cool. So today's Friday. I know for a fact it's gonna rain on Monday, but I just didn't want to leave her dirty. Hadn't washed her in like in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. But anyways, we'll catch you in the next one. Appreciate you guys.
So, like I said, this space I definitely use it to share some of more personal stories. I feel like the group of people that joined this ones, um, it's a different vibe. Trying to create that community. It's an open space for me to share. And hopefully help you guys in one way or another to remind you, like, if you've been putting reading off for the side for a while, pick up a book, structure. That's definitely something that I've been trying to do, have a little bit more structure. Really stick to my budget of when we do our budgets, or bi-weekly budgets with my wife, and focus on the things that really matter. Spend time with family. And when you're with family, be present with family. Get off the phone, because it's extremely easy to be on the phone. It's extremely easy to say, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and you're not really doing it. I mean, Gary V, to some of you who may not know, he's an entrepreneur, has a YouTube channel, and he's like a little social media type of guy. He says, a lot of us, we go to go hike for the picture, to show everybody that we were hiking, but not really because we want to hike. And I think that's the petty me, the real symbol where we're at in society at the moment, which is, yeah, I think most of us want to really show other people instead of actually enjoying ourselves. And yeah, that's why I don't really feel bad for your first world problems. And I hope this helps some people. Keep pushing forward, keep motivating. I really appreciate you guys your time. As always, we go for the car and we stay for the person. Much love, everyone. Take care.